it's like a semi-fancy place for Westport. And this guy, this Jason's friend, we're like talking to him, and then we look over, and the guy, he thinks no one can see him, but he's actually onto the window that's directly behind the bar, so we can all. He thinks that he has found the perfect spot to piss, and we are all like looking down the barrel of his.
A podcast hosted by two white comedians, a stereotype about the blandest ingredients that childhoods didn't prepare them for life. Sexual tension you can cut with a knife. Podcast. Two white comedians. Podcast. Two white comedians.
All right, we're starting the podcast.
Nice.
Drinking on a podcast. Let's say we're supposed to do this. If you ever drink in public, it's just
yeah. We the wife and I, every single time when we have our first beer, we stare each other in the eyes and cheers, and then we don't break eye contact until we've swallowed the first thing. Just it's mostly for whoever is watching.
This is an Oscar Blues 1050 from 2016.
Oh, that's chocolatey.
Which is that's an old beer. I got a bunch of beer like directly behind this camera over here that's aging, and I stopped collecting because I have too much, as you can see. Which maybe someday we'll give a look at that when that area is a little more clean.
Are you saying as I can see? Because they can't see that.
No, I know, as you can see,
yeah,
Jess.
No,
and then maybe at some point the crowd will, the vast audience for this podcast will get a look at it someday. Yeah, we've been. This is maybe the first time since we did the first episode, and it was a while before we did the second episode.
Yeah.
But I think this 2 weeks since we've done an episode is the longest gap between us actually recording episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Since then,
that's fair. It's been
a lot's happened, folks.
It's been I've been living. I just had a brief road gig recently down in North Bend, Oregon, and it was supposed to be 2 shows, but one of the shows got canceled. And to be honest, I'm happy about it because it was a roast show with people I don't know. It's like Oregon comics.
Sure.
I don't know these people at all.
Well, and for the folks listening that maybe are aware, you and I literally 2 nights ago did a roast with each other at Tacoma Comedy Club. That was all comics that we know, and many of whom we're friends with. A couple we hate, but many of whom we're friends with. And that makes it a lot easier. Roasting someone you don't know is like, oh, I'm just going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, you don't know what that's going to be like. So that show got canceled, which I was fine with, and I had lodging like available for free, but I'm like, I'm going to bring the wife.
Sure.
So I got a room. We were down right on the coast in North Bend, Oregon, which is like pretty close to the California border. I think it's maybe an hour or something like that away. So we got a room, and the show was fun. It was a packed room. I had a good time, and then we drove up the Oregon coast on 101 for like the whole drive, and then cut over to Astoria and stopped at Fort George Brewing.
Is it cutting over to Astoria? You run out of road, don't you? You have to cut to Astoria.
Well, yeah, it just like it's like straight north, and then it kind of dips over.
Yeah, but it's not like you could keep going north. There was no cutting. You just followed the street.
Listen,
Folks,
I'm not
weigh
here.
in. Please weigh in.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, because the Columbia River is in the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the Pacific Ocean, by the way, like the meeting of those two places is. Did you come to this podcast for geography? That's good. That's I love the Oregon coast. Is that all you got? You got a story about this place, or just you got one trip canceled?
Certainly a beautiful coast especially compared to Washington. Northern Washington's got a good coastline, but the rest, Ocean Shores, boo. Westport, boo. Long Beach, boo. Sucks. We did a bad job.
I like Westport.
Yeah, I bet you do. You seem.
What's your problem with Westport?
Just compared to other places, like I don't. It's all beach towns are the same, where they're kind of like run down.
Sure.
You know
Well, yeah, because they're all like sandblasted.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of research, and especially in COVID, like everybody, I was doing like Zillow porn, where I was like, let's see what Pacific Beach, Oregon would look like if we bought a house there.
Yeah.
And what made me laugh, I started doing some research on it, and you can see like houses that are on the ocean, like front door versus back door. They're both, and it'll be like the front door handle, the handle's corroded down to a nub, right. and the one that faces the ocean is corroded down to a nub, and the one on the other side is fine, is like new, but this is like in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So they all get like, it's all, and always the industry in these places is, it's like, used to be a huge fishing town, and now it's like, well, all that fishing probably takes place somewhere near a port instead of some mom and pop massive boat so yeah, that certainly is the case. I also think like the folks that live in a lot of those places, if there's not like a true tourism reason to be there. Ocean Shores, Washington, it's like the closest we have to like the Jersey Shore or whatever. It has like a tourism reason to be there. There's like stuff there for kids. There's stuff there for families. There's a variety of stuff. Westport, Washington, which is maybe why I like it. It's like commercial fishermen and I think people escaping charges. Like it is a rough and tumble town. I was in Westport one time, and it was for my friends. It's kind of funny. He got married and invited us to the bachelor party, but not the wedding. Which is, I think that's a good indication of the kind of friend I was at that time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But so we went commercial fishing, or not commercial fishing. We went chartered a fishing boat. So like ocean fishing for...
Yeah, I've never done that.
But the night before, dude, so when you go fishing on one of those boats, you got to leave at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Like on the boat's leaving the dock at 6 a.m. I mean, we were at last call at the bars the night before.
That's such a stupid combo.
Yes.
Like to drink the night before and then get on a fucking boat in the ocean.
Of course. And we're all like poor white guys at the time. So it's like 4 dudes to a hotel room and none of us are gay and we all want to make sure everyone knows. So none of us will actually, like 2 of us sleep on a bed and 2 of us sleep on the floor.
And you don't even get to enjoy it.
Right. It's not even good sleep.
Yeah.
And, but I remember I met a guy that was, a professor at Grayland Community College. His name is Jason. He's in my phone as Jason Westport, and he was a professor at that school, and then also a commercial fisherman as like a side gig, or maybe vice versa. Those I could have those mixed up. But he was there with another guy who was a fisherman, and we were at this bar that I think is now closed, but it was called the Islander, and it was I think it was called the Islander. Anyways, they best crab cakes in Washington was what and they were very good crab cakes, but they were like known for having quote unquote the best crab cakes in Washington. It's like a semi-fancy place for Westport. And this guy, this Jason's friend, we're like talking to him, bullshitting, and then we look over and the guy, he thinks no one can see him, but he's actually pissing onto the window that's directly behind the bar so we can all... He thinks that he has found the perfect spot to piss, and we are all like looking down the barrel of his penis while it's pissing.
What does that look like from the outside? Like, did you go out and is it like mirrored or something?
No, he was that drunk. He was pissing on a clear window.
That's funny.
We just saw yellow drizzle coming down the window.
Wow. Have you, speaking of being on the road with the wife, and this isn't related in that this happened. It's been a long time since I've experienced this. Have you ever roadhead? You ever get roadhead?
You know what, my dear wife, I will not implicate her in anything of the sort. I'm not a freaky guy, Jess. I'll let you listeners.
Yeah.
If you're here for a sex positive experience where two guys really explore male sexuality, you're in the wrong spot. Jess might have a solo podcast on OnlyFans one day where you could. This is the wrong spot for that. But go ahead, tell me about this. Maybe or maybe not receiving roadhead on the Oregon coast.
Oh no, it's been years and years since I've experienced this. But so you've never.
Let's say for the sake of if my anyone from my family at all listens to this, no, their dear son and relative has never. Jess, are you kidding me? You disgusting pig.
I guess me neither. I guess I found the line.
You got no family to be mad at you for.
I found the line. I have somebody else's family that follows me on things. I guess I'll be good. I already talked about jerking off at work, and that was a regretful decision.
Yeah, and by the way, as we record this, that episode has not come out. That could be our iconic moment, but it has not come out. So you're looking at a guy who maybe doesn't know that his in-laws have disowned him at this point.
They're fine. Speaking of in-laws though, this is a nice escape from the place I just tried to lead us. We had the mother-in-law's brother passed away recently.
Oh, okay. I was aware of this guy being in bad health.
Yeah. So he is no longer with us, but they had a wake of sorts, a celebration of life. Nobody has a funeral these days. It's all celebration of life. Nobody likes to cry. So we had it at, they, I guess, had it at Seven Seas Brewing.
In Gig Harbor?
No, in Tacoma.
Okay. I like that.
They have like conference rooms in that building. So she invited, it was like a bunch of like friends from high school and work friends and stuff like that. And quite a few people. There was a moment where my mother-in-law got up. She had to like stand on a chair to like give this, speech.
Sure.
So she gets up and she's telling this like very beautifully written little speech there, and she's crying, other people are crying, and I had one of those moments where like it's the worst possible time to laugh, but you think of something funny, and now because you shouldn't laugh, you have to laugh.
Gotcha.
I don't even know what I thought of, but I just I was dying trying to keep it in. And then, of course, after that, I got to tell Cameron. So, like, there's this beautiful speech. Everybody's, sad, sad, sad. And then it's just me turning to my wife with a big smile on my face, laughing about the thing I thought of, which I can't even remember.
I think you do, but you're going to tell me off the podcast, or do you actually not remember?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. It was like, I think it was like a video we watched where somebody was just playing. Oh, yes, I do actually remember now. It's a video of somebody attaching a bunch of balloons to a dog and the dog floating into the sky. And then the music is just very inappropriate for what is potentially a devastating moment.
That's funny.
I thought of that and it made me laugh. So I was like the asshole laughing. Because if you don't, normal people aren't like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so I actually,
that's a different thing with comics.
One I have in my, well, we should talk about something that happened the other night also. I don't know if you were intentionally leading into that, but one of my topics was that I had written down is do you think it's easier to give a speech and get a lot of laughs at a funeral or a wedding? And I don't know how many weddings or funerals you've attended. I didn't realize you had attended a funeral very recently. I also have, which you knew about. I think we talked about my buddy passing away. I'll tell you, mine is, first off, the hard thing about a wedding is not that many people are giving speeches, right? Mm-hmm. At a funeral, there's a lot more acceptance, I think, of like open microphone, go up and tell your story.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to have some very sad or very boring stories. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even saying that obviously the topic of death is not as funny or not as much of like fodder for humor, obviously in that moment as a wedding might be. But for me, the stakes are so high. The tension is built so high.
Yeah.
And everybody is bombing because no one else is trying to get laughs, by the way. And tell me if you have this also. I feel an obligation. Because everyone knows, they're like this, like everyone hates public speaking, and they're like, well, Casey likes public speaking.
Yeah.
Casey can be like the spokesman for our group almost, is what I feel. They may not actually feel that way, but I'm like somebody from if I'm like the spokesman for my coalition at this wedding or funeral. And so I like at this funeral, I went up and, or celebration of life, like you said, and then I cried, baby. I didn't realize that was part of the deal. We cried and then we went and drank after. It was very fun. It was all like old college friends. But yeah, I feel like I got to go up and be like break the tension a little bit.
Because you think it's like expected of you?
Well, I think it's like a thing I'm good at, and I think the funeral needs it.
Oh, you got to bring some levity to.
I got to bring a little levity. Let's not all be just. And usually, what it ends up doing, by the way, is it kind of cracks loose a couple other stories that people had that they maybe didn't think were appropriate. And it's like, I'll go up and be the guy like borders on inappropriate. My cousin, tragically, my friend passed away significantly older. I think he was 57 years old or something like that, maybe 52. He was older, still way too young to pass away. I'm not saying that. My cousin tragically passed away at 21 after he had bone cancer, and it was like not an easy. Obviously,
that's a rough
passed away
one.
at 21.
That's
it was like he discovered it at 19 because he had a knee issue while he was working construction, and then 2 years later he went into remission. He thought, and then ended up not being actually in remission and ended up passing away. At that funeral, everyone's sad. It's a very young person. It's all his family members, and the family is a little bit fractured, so there's like his mom's side of the family is a whole bunch of people, and then his dad's side of the family is a whole bunch of other people, and he had a stepmom and a stepdad also, and there's my aunt and everyone's telling these stories about like what a sweet guy he is and blah, 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 blah. And I go up and I go, I don't know who you guys are talking about. Like, this guy was an asshole. Like, I love him so much, but he was the biggest smartass I've ever met. And that, like, I think that was actually, I had just barely started doing comedy. One of the last things, I didn't know how close he was to the end. He and I were going to watch Louis C.K. Chewed Up, and also he had not heard me do stand-up. And we were going to do that on, like, a Wednesday, and he died on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
But still, I went up, I'm talking shit about this guy at his funeral. What are you, crazy?
Right. Yeah, what a gamble, though.
Well, I think you get rewarded for the gamble. I think you got to... And I certainly think that comedy allows you to know where that it's not... I was certain it was going to work. But it was because I had, I've tried to be funny my whole life. It's all I've ever valued in a person is their humor.
Yeah. I definitely... Was that a thing for, with your family where, humor was kind of how you dealt with stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's, to a fault probably, but yes. I think to the point where it creates, hurt feelings sometimes. But yes. Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, same. It was... I just, everybody in my family was funny. When I was growing up. Constant storytelling and stuff like that. They really did a bad job with drugs and drinking. They really made that sound fun.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the stories were always good stories. They were never never do this, kid, it ruined my life. It was just, fun party stories. So
let me talk about this one other thing that we experienced 2 days ago also, just because
buddy. Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to come out good on this, but it's something that is the exact reason we have this podcast, I think, so we did the show Roastamania. We lost, as a team, we lost, you and I. By the way, if you're watching the video version of this, the video that's on the intro song is from that show because it's Jess and I on stage together at the same time. That doesn't happen very often. And, So after the show, a friend of ours, comedian, has recently opened a bar in Tacoma, and the bar in Tacoma is the site of a semi-infamous Tacoma shooting that happened a couple of years ago, We were talking about how we were going to go to that bar, but as comedians do, we started to make some of the darkest jokes available to. And by the way, I found out at that, because we did go to that bar after the moment we're going to talk about, that there were some people with some other jokes chambered, ready to go, that stopped abruptly because the very nice man, the security guard at Tacoma Comedy Club, goes, "You guys know my baby girl died in that shooting." And we were like, I think everybody, like the bar, by the way, I didn't realize how closely everyone was paying attention. When I was leaving, the manager was like, "That was pretty fucking awkward, huh?" And I was like, "Oh my God." He was like on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But apparently everything in the bar stopped and went in slow motion for everybody.
Definitely like the record player scratching to a halt moment. God, that got so heavy. I turned to Brandon and was like, I gotta leave. That was rough. I didn't know that was even a couple years ago. I didn't know when that happened.
I think it was actually just a year ago.
Jeez Louise, that's
which I know, by the way, because he showed me the tattoo that he got in honor of his daughter, which says the day she passed away, and it was like in maybe February even of 2024.
God, that was brutal. That's what a difficult thing to deal with.
It's also, I will say, there was an interesting juxtaposition of us having done a roast where we all said the worst things about each other, and then the reason he knew we were talking about that shooting is because I said the reason the guy shot everyone is because people were making fun of him for having a receding hairline. And he went to his car, came back in, and shot people. And that because people roasted him, he went out, got a gun, and shot people. I like brought that up, and after a roast where
you're primed for shit talking.
By the way, like that environment, if you don't like that kind of thing, that backstage, and I'm the most guilty of it. I was like, it was roast from the moment we arrived.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what happened on stage was the least of the jokes. I think it was just the ones that we were willing to say in front of people who would be offended by the stuff we were saying in the back.
Yeah. That's That's tough to, because he like works at a comedy club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's like kind of surrounded by that all the time. But to have something like that be like right there.
Right.
That's like gonna get touched on because the bar's like just down the road. It's like a close thing. So like that probably may not even be the first time he's heard somebody talking about that.
By the way, I think a different employee of the club was in the bar when it happened.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a nightmare.
Yeah. Anyway, so I want to talk to you about my show. We're going to deal with a lot of dark shit today, I suppose, because how long have we been doing? Okay, we got time. We got plenty of time. I did a show at, I think it's called Michael Florentino Wines Winery, whatever, in Seattle, and I've never been there.
Makes a delicious Pinot Noir.
Okay, all right. I had the red blend. We have a bottle of the Cabernet downstairs also. I had actually been to because it's at like a little like strip mall of wineries, basically. There's like one pizza place and then like, I don't know, 8 wineries or something in that. Yeah. And I think there's like a cider company and a seltzer company there too, maybe. Anyways, I had been there for my sister's 35th birthday. So I had never been to anywhere near that place. And then just weirdly had been 2 doors down from there with my sister and my wife and I think we talked about the gay couple from Montana and my wife's husband. All just like drinking and having fun, and then like, oh, here's this. I have no idea how comedy's going to go here because the clientele of the place we went to did not seem like comedy people.
Yeah.
And my expectation was that these would not be great comedy people. And I will tell you, I had a pretty good set. Gabe and I were like kind of looking out in the crowd going like, seem a little snooty. You never know how dirty to be also. Like, because in a comedy club is like, you're not going to understand this reference, but it's like hitting in Coors Field, or it's like, it would be like, it's like playing basketball on the moon. Like there's just no gravity. It's so easy in a comedy club. Everything is set up. Winery, obviously not the case. So I actually end up, it was like, it was just me and Gabe, so like the first couple minutes I'm winning them over, then I do pretty well, and by the end I'm doing like very well, did a lot of new stuff, etc. I showed my shirt, people loved it. I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna sell a lot of merch. I come off stage. I'm walking into the back room where they have set up, which is very nice. We love, by the way, if you own a venue and you want comedians there, the number 1 and 2 things you can do is give them free food and drink and give them an area to be away from the audience during and before the show.
Yes.
And I'm walking towards the green room, and there's this couple, and they will not get out of the way of my path. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And all of a sudden, I realized that the woman is having a seizure in her husband's lap.
Oh.
She's having a full-on she's laying in his lap like she looks like
wait. So how long after you were like, what the fuck is these people's problem, did you realize that was happening? Because
I found it out and like ran to the bar to tell them like, you got a situation. It was it was within it was like under 30 seconds.
Okay.
In real time, it felt like 5 minutes, but it was probably 10 seconds because I was like, first off, I'm just like, I gotta get through. I can't get through anywhere fucking else. There's no other path, and this lady's blocking it. And why won't she move it? And then, that's why she won't move, because she's chewing on her tongue right now.
Yeah.
And so then I get them. Gabe is on stage, by the way. I've just brought him onto stage. I'm like trying to wave to him to be like, and it's like the commotion started right at the end of my set. But it wasn't obvious until like a minute into Gabe's set that like, oh fuck, this is like this lady like.
Were other people like around them aware of the situation?
Oh, yeah. Okay, she was like laying as like their high bar stools. She was like basically horizontal on his lap, just like fully convulsing.
Wow.
And older lady, and she like. They have to bring her to the ground. The owner's calling the EMTs. Gabe comes off stage, which is like the best move you can do, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, I think, I know, but I do think there's people who would probably have tried, like he comes off stage quickly. There's people who would have tried to ride it out while they figured this out. And I think like the best move is stop and let's see if we even are going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because if a person, just passed away in the showroom, that's going to
be.
So EMTs come. She's quote unquote dehydrated. I think it might be a situation where she's does not drink like that on a regular basis. At the age she was at, I suspect she's taking some medications that, who knows how they interact with her with alcohol.
Yes.
And so she was dehydrated, but like, come on, lady.
Yeah.
Come on, lady.
Yeah.
I've been dehydrated a lot of times. I've never had a seizure over it.
Right.
And so then
at a wine place, you're gonna say she was dehydrated. If you're at a regular bar, she was shit canned, can't handle her liquor.
If she was doing cardio at the gym, okay. But like, so then Gabe goes back up, and I did a funny thing where I was like, I go up, and the first thing I go, I promise you I'm not gonna, because that's the other thing too is Gabe and I are in back, and I'm like, do you want to just go up, or do you want me to like bring you up again?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, because I mean, let's break the tension a little bit before you come back up.
Yeah.
And so I go up, and I was like, I promise I'm not here to do any more material. And I got a big laugh. And then I was like, do you guys actually want to keep the show going? And they're like, ah! I'm like, all right, good. Well, now I have 15 more minutes. I said some shit like that. And then and we had video of it too. And we live in a time, obviously, where we're putting videos up. And this is the episode where we're going to talk about my virality. This is the one. But we live in a time when content's very important, right? Like for comedians.
Yeah.
This is too poor to taste, I think.
Yeah.
To be like, because I'm going to tell you, in the same way that at a funeral there's tension that can be broken very easily.
Oh, yeah.
This was the same way. It was like, as long as you don't go up and say like the absolute worst possible thing, you're going to get a big pop. And
right.
and then Gabe like crushed, obviously. And it ended up being like, I think as far as I know, the lady survived and everything's good, but it was a very stressful period because I was like, it's that weird thing where you go from like being really fucking annoyed to being like, oh no, I think I'm watching a death in front of me.
Yeah, that's spooky. We had I'll tell this quick story that's relatable, and then you can get into your.
Will you tell me about how your experience at that very winery also?
Oh yeah, well, okay, so I'll do the seizure thing and then
all right.
So during COVID, when it was like in the initial like first couple of months where everybody's just like drinking, because it was like pretty close to summertime, like it was like nice weather, so we're out everybody, I'm at the in-laws' place, and they have a friend over who is an older gentleman, and we're all sitting out drinking and talking, and there was a moment where like we look over and he's just like like we don't, and he's like, he's not super old, but he's old enough that where we're like, is this like, are we just like watching this guy die now? But he like kind of seized out a bit, and we got him like back with it.
Back on
he was responsive, you know what I mean? We didn't have to like call an ambulance or nothing. And then we continue eating, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna like, I guess I'm not drinking anymore, because he had been having some wine. And then he goes to leave, and we just hear like, they walk him out, come back out on the porch, and then we just hear like he passed out again in his truck with his foot on the gas. Fortunately, he was still in park.
Jesus.
But just like slamming on the gas, seizing out, and so then they called the ambulance.
Yeah,
he's fine now. I think he's like on a he's got like a pacemaker or something like that. I can't remember what specifically ended up happening to him, but that was like one of the I've seen some wild shit that I've seen some stuff that's way too dark to even talk about, or think about. But that was nuts to be like right there watching a guy go from like normal to just like, you know,
dude.
Okay, so same venue, same winery. I also, I think I did well on that show. I have a clip actually from this incident. There was a guy sitting like front row. It's him and a lady. I don't know if they were together. I don't know what his situation was, but it seemed like he was on mushrooms or an edible or something, because throughout the show, like he did it my entire set, he's like responding to everything that's said. And like doing hand motions. Like if you said like, I was walking the other day, he's doing this like with his fingers, like walking like I don't know what this guy was doing.
Sure.
But he did it for my set. I told him to shut up several times. Then he did it
He's
for
doing
like
sign language to himself.
All of Gabe's set, and just like wouldn't shut up. At the end of the show, this guy, and this is like, we've both talked to this guy.
Yeah.
And at the end of the show, buys merch from both of us, doesn't mention anything about having to be talked to several times during the show. Just absolutely no self-awareness. It was the craziest.
I actually stopped saying what I was going to say because I thought I might be actually revealing the end, which I hate when people do.
Oh, gotcha.
I assumed you were going to be like, this guy was translating for the lady with him, like in the fucking sign language.
No, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
That would have been good. I should have lied.
All right, let's talk about this.
Okay, so you're a rising star now. You're going to be famous soon.
Well, I've noticed a couple things about this this experience, Jess. So let me tell you how it starts. I've made this pledge in 2025 to put out 200 reels this year.
Oh, damn. How many are you at?
I don't know.
So far.
A lot. Yeah. I haven't counted them recently.
You've been pretty heavy with the reels.
Yeah. So at one point I was like, well, let's just try doing like 7 straight days and see what that does. And like on the third day, I had one that like went pretty well everywhere, but it really popped on Facebook. It was at like, I don't know. Gabe and I did a show that I might have talked about, maybe didn't, but it was at Seven Cedars Casino in Sequim. It's a lot of S sounds.
That was the snow drive you talked about.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
okay,
yeah. So it was like at, I don't know, 150,000 then, and I was like, holy shit, this is like the most I've ever gotten on Facebook for anything. And so I'm like really excited about it, getting a bunch of new followers. And then on like the Sunday, I wanted to just do 7 straight days, but I was like, I don't want to waste a good clip on a Sunday. So I did this joke that is like not my favorite joke on my, I've told people this a lot. It's like on my special, it's in the bottom third of jokes for me.
Yeah.
Which is this joke about, and it's not even like, I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is I never think I wrote a good enough ending for it. There's a huge pop in the middle, and I don't think I ever wrote a good enough ending for it. These lines worked. They finally started to work, but like I wanted it. I like every joke to end on a big pop. Maybe not the biggest pop of the joke. It doesn't have to be, but like I want it to be like this joke's over, and we can tell because we all just laughed super hard.
A bell curve.
Yeah, but I want it to be like a parabola, and we end at the peak, right? And
Yeah.
Be careful with
That's
this fucking
never
motion
how
right
I write my jokes, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I write my jokes in an arc.
You want them to end badly?
It's just how it ends up. Like
Sure.
the peak is here, and then I just run it back into the ground.
So yeah, that's probably not good. But anyway, so it's like the joke itself is fine. I think that so the joke is I go like it starts out it follows this joke about me pulling a muscle in my back while I was wiping my ass, which is like that is a joke I like a lot.
Yeah,
and then this one is like. And it wasn't that long. I said millennials aren't the best generation. It wasn't that long ago that men were better. And then I tell all these things that make you think that I'm saying my grandpa was like this fucking hardworking, nose to the grindstone guy. I go, he worked in a factory for 40 years, perfect attendance. He was in the Korean War. And then I say like he would go home and drink a fifth of Black Velvet whiskey, show up to work the next day on time. And then he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I'm just doing the whole joke.
Yeah.
the doctor said, you got to cut back on the booze. He didn't quit. He never had another drop of alcohol the rest of his life. He didn't need rehab. This is where the misdirect happens, because they think that I'm building up to this guy that like completely self-fucking-made, hardworking, and I go, he didn't need rehab or some 12-step program. He just took it out on his family for the next 40 years like a man, right? So... I think that's a funny line and a funny misdirect. And it's also, to me, like, it's exactly the thing we were talking about with the funeral thing, where it's like, we were building tension that whole time.
Yeah.
There's when people comment, like, where's the joke on it, which is, I'm going to talk about comments a fair amount, because I've gotten, like, a wide variety of comments.
Yeah, I've seen
But people will be like, where's the joke? And I'm like, it's literally like a live recording. So if you actually don't know where the joke is, go to where there's laughter. That's where the joke is. You not getting the joke might be an indictment on you, but that's where the joke is.
Yeah.
And that's like that. The whole thing about that is it's a big tension up to this, and it's like a full misdirect, right? Like you think that I'm saying one thing. One thing about it that's been funny to me. So it has over 1 million views on every platform. I think it hit 1 million first on TikTok, then Instagram, then YouTube. And then, like, just recently, Facebook. Now YouTube's at the highest, and I made, like, it's the first time I've made real money off of a clip I made, like, $200 because I got monetized from my special. So I didn't get it, like, during the special. And, by the way, $200 did not pay off the special. So go watch it, please. But this is, like, kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do it, is to have shit like this, and also to, like, this is now a thing that I'm going to use, these couple that have gotten really big views. Well, that's what I'm going to use for ads now, because I know that people respond to them,
right?
But it has what a lot of people have taken this joke to be, which is funny to me. They just completely miss the misdirect.
Oh yeah.
They go like, yeah, men used to be better, and I'm like, well, the whole joke is like, it's not even that men used to be worse. That's not my argument either. My actual, the real thing I feel is that we suck at all generations. We got problems in our generation. They had problems in their generation.
They're just different problems.
They're different, and people are like, yeah, they didn't have fucking phones or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but they had like racism. Of course they had
abusive relationships.
And then they're like, well, his factory job could pay for his kids to go to college and for him to have a second family. I'm like, this motherfucker rented a house until he was 50, and none of his kids stepped foot on a college campus. Like, and then they're like, well, now his job's in goddamn India, and I'm like, well, no, like literally the place he worked is still open and operating.
Yeah,
Like I understand.
Do they watch that? Like, it's a comedian's page. And they think you're just giving a TED talk on like your horrible grandpa. It's so crazy.
Well, not even that.
They
think it's the very inverse of that. They think I'm giving a TED talk on how amazing my grandpa was. And by the way, I love my grandpa. And I want to clarify one thing on this joke also, which is people have taken, and I didn't, I didn't dispel anything in the joke about this. They've taken me saying he took it out on his family for the next 40 years as he was like physically abusive, which is not the case. He was not physically abusive at all. What he was he was a dry drunk. Are you familiar with this term?
No.
So a dry drunk is someone who quits drinking and then they just become addicted to something else. And sometimes it's,
every single person that's been addicted to alcohol.
But it's not they become addicted to weed or another substance. He became compulsive about cleaning and compulsive about yard work and compulsive about letting his family know that the one beer they had that day means they're an alcoholic and they should also quit. And he was just really tough and had high standards for his family because he felt like because he had this willpower, everyone else should have this willpower because it was bad for him. It was also bad for everyone else.
Yeah.
And he also like the doctor told him like you got to cut back on red meat. And so he quit eating red meat completely, but then he would just have like cured ham in its place. Like that's not the solution.
Interesting. What is ham? Is that
ham is pork or ham is
no?
pig.
I know. I know that it's pork. But if beef is red meat, what is like pork considered?
The big slogan was like the other white meat at the time. So
meat.
I don't know if it's. By the way, I know people who have like heart issues that crop up because of pork. This is not a medical podcast. My grandpa was not doing like my grandpa does not know well, he's dead now. He doesn't know living moderation either. But he didn't know moderation. He quit smoking in one day. He quit red meat in one day. He would have like he lived by a Fred Meyer. He would go pick up 5 of the same salad until they were gone, and then go pick up 5 more of the same like prepackaged salad.
Yeah.
Like he just didn't know moderation. He would just take every single thing and put it through the same compulsive lens as alcohol was for him.
Yeah.
And people are like, first off, the big one that gets me is people are
this
like,
sounds like my brother, by the way.
Oh, fun. Yeah, Let's get him on the podcast. Would he do the podcast? Would he hate the podcast?
He might have a hard time. He's very, very funny. He's like the reason I'm funny. Like
Sure.
my entire childhood strived to be as funny as him.
Sure.
And now I'm
still failing at it?
I'm the comic. No, but he quit drinking when he was 19, but was drinking like 30 beers every day.
Oh yeah. Well,
and just quit like cold turkey and should have died.
Yeah, so this is the thing that people say, by the way, in the comments. They're like, this story's a lie. First off, it's like, it's a lie. It's a fucking joke. And so even if it is a lie, just appreciate it for the humor. But they go, this is obviously a lie because if he did that, he'd be dead for sure. Now I'm going to tell you the stats. 5 to 10% of people, 5 to 10% of severe alcoholics get the DTs. Which I've many times now because I've researched this multiple times because people argue with me in the comments of this.
Dick tremors.
I know it's tremens, but I don't know what the whatever the D is.
Get a shaky dick.
It's so 5 to 10% of severe alcoholics that quit cold turkey get the DTs, and then of those people, 25 to 40% of them, if it goes untreated, they die. Which, by the way, 25 to 40%, that's a very high rate.
Big number.
But if you go the whole population of severe alcoholics quitting drinking, you're down to like 2.5% of them die if they do nothing. So yes, it's very dangerous. And if you're listening to this podcast for sobriety advice, my advice is get treatment. Don't quit cold turkey. Whatever keeps us out of liability. I actually don't care about your life that much.
The podcast on which we are drinking.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. I will say one thing that's been kind of cool about it is even the people who miss the boat on the joke. Even if they miss the boat on the joke, by the way, there's living like 350 dudes that think they're very. These are the most commonly Seth Rogen. Just something about me looking like Seth Rogen, which I don't even look that much like Seth Rogen. I'm just fat with a beard.
I look like everybody that has a mustache. When I had a beard, I looked like everybody that has a beard. People are not original.
Yeah, there was this one dude that I think he follows me now because I made fun of him, but he just started. He was like, you look like Seth Rogen. And then I was like, you're like the 85th person to say that. And so he went to another video and did it. And then he made it a bit. Every time I'd put a new video up, he would just put Seth Rogen, Seth Rogen.
That's fun.
And then it was like the 15th one. And I go, What's the funniest thing to me is you've been spelling Seth Rogen wrong the whole time. And then he sent me a DM. He's like, God damn it. I thought, like, I said it was, he like commented, that's the joke. But then he's like, I fucking can't believe I did that.
That's
it was
funny.
Very funny. That's one thing I get. I get a lot of references to me looking like I have Down syndrome or looking like Shane Gillis, who talks about him looking like he has Down syndrome. He talks about, or he has a joke about his uncle making grilled cheese sandwiches at night. And he, like, people are commenting like, this guy makes them at night or nicked by Down syndrome. It was very funny too, by the way, because I'm at a brewery with my wife and I'm like showing her it and I'm explaining the joke to her. I was like, this is kind of funny to me because, I mean, it kind of feels, when people are like using another comedian's joke to make a joke about you, to a degree, it's, and by the way, Gillis is like one of the best comics we have, right? So it's not like that insulting.
Oh, but like, he'll go down in history as one of the, like, just so funny. His skits and everything are just, he's just, it's a different world.
So I show my wife this and I'm like, what they're saying here, this is a joke. They're talking about grilled cheese and she's like, I don't know what that's, and I'm like, what they're saying is that I look like I have Down syndrome. And she like didn't think it was funny, and she just earnestly responded. She's like, "No, you don't. You don't look like that." And I'm like, "Oh no. This is, now you're hurting my feelings because I thought I knew."
All of my friends tell me the same thing, and I'm like, "No, he doesn't."
And then another thing that's happened. So like, 350 dudes have thought they're very original. The saying is like, hard times make strong men, strong times make easy time, or strong men make easy times, hard men fuck easy men. I don't know what but it's like, it's all just the same cookie cutter bullshit. Like, can you read the 53 other dudes? But I will say this, if you're considering not commenting that, do comment it because it helps the algorithm. If you want to comment that it sucks, do that also. Anytime you want to argue with me, do it because it fucking boosts. I think that's the thing that has made this thing actually go viral. I think the joke is fine. But people, there's two things. The joke is like 50 seconds into the video. So people watch this whole time. I've gripped them enough to get them 50 seconds into the video. And then they misunderstand. Half the people misunderstand it. So they argue in the comments. I didn't think this was going to be a controversial joke. I had no anticipation that this would be the joke that was like the one that fucking went viral. Again, bottom third of my favorite jokes to tell. It doesn't end the way that I would want a joke to end. Like, anyone that says I suck, believe me, I've thought it before you. I thought it while I was writing this joke probably. But the other thing that's been kind of interesting is to find out like how much people relate to it because of how many men were in the Korean War or Vietnam or World War II or whatever and have this exact experience, which is they come back, their life is, fucked. They've got trauma that's unresolved and untreated. And people are like, you're making fun of him for having PTSD. And I'm like, I'm not making fun of him. It's first off, he's dead. He's dead and he's like not absolved of all guilt in this, right? Like, he's obviously got he had some problems that at the time were probably hard to get treatment for, but he had some problems. He went about things badly. But again, I love the guy. He was very sweet to me. Probably my like most positive male influence, frankly, with the acknowledgement that he's got these other issues. But I'm not making fun of him for having PTSD, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of cool to get like people who are roughly my age going, or older, but they're going like, yeah, my grandpa was the exact same way. And then hearing the stories of, there's two versions of it, right? There's like, my grandpa was the exact same way and he had 3 families and fucked 48 Vietnamese ladies, or my grandpa also got sober that same way, quit after one day, whatever, quit smoking. A lot of people who are like, well, yeah, my grandpa quit smoking the exact same way, which is, by the way, that's pussy shit compared to quitting drinking. You can't even die from it. But it's been kind of, I wouldn't call it like uplifting, but it's been interesting to find out how relatable that was.
Yeah, it's definitely a generational thing. Like, we were raised by a generation that kind of prided themselves in not working on themselves.
Yeah.
And just swallowing it. And I'm the same. Like, I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, he's exactly the same as he was in high school. And you're like, that's not a good thing. Like, that's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
But I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, it's that not only did that generation, like the people that raised us, take pride in not needing help or whatever, not getting help. They definitely need help, by the way, but the generation before them like didn't even know it existed. Like my grandpa's generation, I don't know when the VA came around or the VFW or whatever, but like all that stuff, all the like mental health, even like the idea of considering the mental health of people who had to see absolute atrocities,
right,
is pretty new.
Yeah, but and it's all part of that. The like hard times make strong people. That make weak people. We're the weak people. Like,
well, that's the argument that the people are making. But also, it's a fucking joke. I worked in a factory.
Yeah.
I fucking, I've worked manual labor. Again, I said on a previous episode, I won't stop bragging about it. I'm doing it again. I fucking have worked very hard. Of course, you see a fat comedian talking about drinking White Claw. That's how the joke ends, by the way, folks. I talk about drinking White Claw. Of course, you're like, oh, this guy's a pussy. And then it's like, again, you're like, I'm telling the joke. I wrote the joke.
Yeah.
I also drink beer and whiskey and all this stuff, but it's not funny to be like, actually, I have a pretty wide array of alcoholic beverage preferences. Like, no, the funniest thing to me was to be like, I'm a huge pussy compared to this guy. It's like, you do the full misdirect and then you betray the first 50 seconds with the misdirect and then betray the misdirect by being like, actually, I still am a huge pussy.
Yeah, it's the same thing as like watching a movie and be like, why didn't you just do this? You're like, how long do you want this movie to be? Do you want every movie to just end in 5 minutes because they just solve all the problems right away?
Of course. Yeah. But so anyway, hopefully a lot of the people that are watching this podcast came from that. That's exciting. It has been like, not like incredibly huge growth, but I've added like 5,000 followers on Facebook and 3,000 or 2,000 on Instagram and 3,000 on YouTube and 1,000 on TikTok. It's like easily the most successful thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
For me, I also noticed, by the way, and you're not alone in this, but every time. So when Gabe Rutledge does well, my friend Gabe Rutledge, and he's had quite a bit of success.
He's blown up now.
I think the reason he tells me about it is because I'm genuinely happy for him when it happens. Because and Gabe is unlike any of us, which is he's a 20-year comic, maybe 25-year comic at this point. He's incredibly talented. He's put in his dues. He's been a 40 plus weeks a year on the road comic for most of that time. So nobody thinks like I didn't earn it. He obviously earned it. Now, there could be people that think he's not funny. I would argue, or funny enough for that, the audience he has. I would argue that they're wrong. But I asked him, actually, I go, how does it feel to be the one comic that nobody's bitter that you're getting this opportunity? He's the only guy that I can think of where nobody would be like, because there's comics that you and I started with that are doing better than us, obviously. And yeah, of course I'm jealous of those guys, even though oftentimes they're people that are like living with their parents or something like that. You're like, yeah, I'm jealous of that guy that's fucking living in a windowless room. You know what I mean? Like, It's not like these guys there's nobody from the time we started. In fact, the person who used to be like the only beacon of success from near the time we started, and she started quite a while before me, and I think probably before you, is Kelsey Cook.
Yeah.
And now there's a couple people who are doing kind of well, and then the people who are like from really when we started, they're doing fine, but they're like, nobody's buying a house or a fucking Maserati off of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess there is one that is doing pretty well.
We could talk about that. We can talk about that off because I'm not sure who it is, but I bet you're wrong. But what I would say is, I send it to you, or I'd send it to people who I thought were in my inner circle, people who I thought I could trust to let me have a little bit of a brag session and enjoy it. And then I'm like, is my phone not sending photos? Like when I started dating my wife, she couldn't receive photos on her phone. So I would send her pictures of stuff and she just wouldn't respond and would just like move on.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And I was like,
I was sending her stuff too. She would not respond.
I have a joke about it where I'm like, if I never sent her a dick pic, which thank God, because I'd have to kill myself if I sent her a dick pic. And she goes, yeah, so I was in math class earlier, and anyway, so yeah, like, so tell me, what's the deal? I know it's obnoxious for somebody to be having success in any way
here we go.
and tell you about it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of successful experience. I'm not posting, because what I don't have, by the way, what I don't have is the person that's like, oh, here's like posting, and this is friends of ours, but like, posting screenshots of, oh, here's fucking 4 million views on this thing or whatever to like social media. I did it with my special because I felt like it was an opportunity to be like, this thing's moving, you go watch it also.
Yeah.
After that, I'm like, I'm not going to go on and be like, maybe I will, maybe I'll do it right after this podcast. But
yeah,
like, yeah, I feel like comics, I was surprised at how little enthusiasm with the understanding, it's me. I understand. It's my thing, not your thing.
So you sent me the initial picture of it, and I was like, "That's fucking awesome." I felt like I was pretty. I don't know, like how much more.
No surprise party.
I was
no
never
parade.
good. I was never good with. I had a hard time like on Christmas or on my birthday. Like I would be very excited about a gift. I have a hard time like projecting that excitement. So in my defense, you sent me the first picture. I felt like I was pretty congratulatory towards you. But then you kept sending
How many do you think I sent total? Because I bet you if we look at it, it's not as many as you're going to say.
I mean, maybe 4.
Okay.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Sure, yeah, 4 is probably about right.
I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah, as it hit a million on each
I'm not
thing,
going... No,
which is something that's never happened to me.
It's incredible. But, like, I feel...
But here's what I'll say. With you and I... Go ahead, you finish.
Okay. I guess it's just a me thing. At a point, it starts to feel like it's coming off as disingenuous if I just continue to say, this is great every time.
You know why it comes off as disingenuous? It's because you don't feel happy for me.
I feel... No, I am so happy for you. I think you deserve it. I think you're very funny. I cannot wait to nestle into your coattails and get drug around through life from your success. But it's a thing. My wife and her family, I lived with them for a long time, much longer than I ever would be comfortable expressing. But
5 years,
4. It was 4 exactly. It was 4 years exactly. God damn it. Nice people, but they're very. They say thank you all the time.
Sure.
And it would be, bastards. So here's the thing: is like it's five people living in a home. After so many thank yous, then it just feels like you got to jump in on the thank you right away. Otherwise, now you're like the 4th, 5th person to say thank you, and it feels like disingenuous to me. I feel like I can't think of the word, but like it loses value over time. In my mind, maybe I don't know what happened to me in my youth that made me feel that a lot. Actually, a lot. I've been through a lot. We won't get into all of it, but I'm sure things will be touched on throughout our tenure as
the duration of this podcast
hosts. But I don't know. I guess it's just like a repetition thing where I feel like it loses value over time. And so, Casey,
do you say I love you to people?
Yeah.
To your wife, do you say I love you? How often?
Oh, buddy, we tell each other like anytime. You know how
does she know how little value it has at this point? How many times you've told her?
That's a fair point. No,
yeah,
that's a fair point.
And I told you.
No, I told you it's a me thing. Like I'm fucked up. I'm trying to work.
The only
reason
reason I'm talking to you about this is because I know you're actually happy for me.
No,
there's plenty of people, by the way. Here's what I'll tell you.
I'm glad to know that you feel that way because I am.
If somebody kept sending it to me and I actually wasn't happy for them, I would be like, because by the way, I've seen people have success that I am not happy for.
Yeah.
I do feel that way about people.
Yeah.
So I'm going like, motherfucker, am I just some other
No,
piece of shit? Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up that comparison because like she's going to be gone for the rest of the week. Like she's gone till Saturday. I'm home alone, Daddy. So it's going to be a lot of drinking more than I should and just sadness. I don't do well alone, but anytime we're on the phone with each other, it's like, I don't know if it was like this or if it is like this or has been ever in your life when you're like getting off the phone with your mom. That's like the thing I can compare it to, where like the conversation doesn't end because it's like, all right, well, I love you, and then like be safe, and then another conversation starts. That's how it is every single time she leaves. We tell each other like, drive safe. I feel I guess it's because I've dealt with a lot of loss in my life that I want it to be known. I don't want to look back on the last thing I said to somebody. You know what I mean?
You should say nicer shit when I send you screenshots. Because I could die any moment. All right, we got to end the podcast.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, I love you. Congratulations.